This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but sporting a beautiful Toronto background behind me because I consider Toronto my true home, and one day hope to make that my home. But nonetheless, folks, speaking of New Brunswick, I have never met this guy, but Shaun Doucette has been in a number of James Balsamo movies that I've been part of, and I don't know how it is that James Balsamo got two of us out of this lowly province in his movies, but Sean was as surprised as I was that James managed the feat of getting two of us out of this practical unknown province in his movies. But Sean is a couple cities away from me, but never met him. But he's been on the show a few times, and even put me through the feat of interviewing his unicorn, if you can imagine that. But he also put me in touch with my guest tonight, and she's got her fingers dipped in a lot of parts of the independent industry, including radio. And well, we'll get into it as far as movies and stuff goes. Folks, I give you Melissa Potter. How do you do, Melissa?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on your show tonight.
Are you related to Harry?
I taught him everything he knows.
I bet. Did you teach Sean Dusa anything like stop sticking unicorn up his ass?
Listen, I don't know what to tell him about that unicorn because that unicorn sees my threads more than I see him on them.
Look at this. This is my unicorn. This is Skittles.
Oh, we never have any problem with cats around here. I'm a cat lady.
Skittles is like, you're using me for hits. You're exploiting me. Yeah, you're staying here for free. Yes, you're staying here for free and you don't even clean the place up.
She's earning her money right now. She's showing her paws.
Yeah.
We're gonna put
Yeah.
her on feet finder.
Yeah. You know, I don't I don't get Sean Doucette, Um, and I tell you, I'd love to get him and Troy Froman on here together and just watch those two go at it. Uh,
I'd
but
actually like to see I'd actually like to see him and James Balsamo together in the same room because I'm I know James and we've been friends for quite some time now. So that's how I actually met Shaun. We became friends through James.
well, I think that's how I became friends with Sean. And like I said, Sean is about, I don't know, 2.5 hour drive away from me. He lives in Moncton, New Brunswick. I'm in Fredericton. And like I said, it was a shock to both of us that James got two of us in his movies, from this province. And but nonetheless, I don't get it with Sean. And Sean actually pitched to me a few years ago to interview that fucking unicorn. And it's the most it's the most crass interview I've ever done. And if you haven't heard it, I recommend you do it because you can tell, like, well, he asked for it.
If he asked for it, whatever happened, happened.
He asked for it. And I went all out. I tell you, it's got to be my most R-rated interview I've ever done.
That's
Because
fantastic.
I asked all the questions, like how far up that I asked Unicorn if he likes it when Sean puts his hand up his ass.
And he's got several of them, so you never know which one you're going to get.
I don't know, but I was like, you know what? Frig it, I'll do it. Why not? But nonetheless, as far as James Balsamo goes, I was connected to him when I interviewed Genevieve Rossi. I've had her on here 5 times, and I just kind of noticed through my first interview with her that she had was under a lot of movies directed by James Balsamo, so I had to kind of bring that up. And I reached out to James later on that year. Here's the story with James. I work as a cleaner. I've worked several years as a cleaner, and I mostly do overnights. So I was sitting on my lunch overnight at 4 in the morning. Now he's in LA. He's 4 hours behind me there. So my phone dings and there's a message comes up and he's asking if I would shoot my own death scene for Cool as Hell 2. And I sat and stared at that for a long time. And so finally I was like, well, it'll be midnight where he is. He's obviously doesn't know how to go to sleep. So I called him and he picked up and I asked him, why? Said he liked doing my show. And I said, yeah, but you realize I'm not an actor. I guess it doesn't matter. Technically, neither is he. But nonetheless, um, I shot this scene, sent it to him from my phone. It got spliced into Cool as Hell 2. And then he approaches me again and asks me if I would shoot two scenes for It Wants Blood that will be watched on a television by Eric Roberts. And I'm like, okay, me in a scene with Eric Roberts. Okay, I'm
Yeah, I
down.
would have been like, sign me up.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. So I shot my two scenes and I've now I've only seen four of the movies that I'm in, but I sent footage for nine of them. And he's got about 25 or 30 films going at once. It's like, but he's got me in Cool as Hell 2, It Wants Blood, Catch of the Day 2, uh, Hollywood Werewolf, and I've seen those four. The ones I haven't seen are Killer Waves 2, um, Balsamo Beach, Bite School 2, um, I Spill Your Guts 2, and then there's one he hasn't even started yet that I got involved with just because of the title, Nightmare Party Twerk of Terror. So, but now it's like financially, I just can't afford to. There was a time I could. Now, especially with the shit government we have here in Canada, which I'm pretty sure you've heard of.
Yep.
Yep. It's hard
Things
to.
aren't much better here.
No, that's what I'm hearing. I say I'm really hoping for Pierre Poilievre to be our next prime minister. I'm going to say that. You know,
I'm waiting for the purge to become a thing.
you know what? It's funny, I've actually mentioned that before with some of the things that are going on here in Canada, because right now, with the way the government here, current government, they have a catch and relief bullshit with the criminals right now. I imagine you guys have heard on the news about the big gold heist from a few years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, those criminals are out walking on the street again right now because of our genius liberal government right now.
That really doesn't surprise me. The government seems to have more faith in the crooked than they do in the people that are actually working and trying to earn their living the right way.
Yeah. Well, for the first time in my life, I've actually got a visa bill, and it's not so horrendous that I can't get it down, you know. But and somebody would say to me, "Well, why are you going to go to Chiller if you?" And I'm like, "Because I want to live my life, you know." It's, you know. Luckily, I'm going to be assisting Lisa Langlois at that event from the movie Class of 1984, who was the one that helped me get a passport to begin with. So I'm looking forward to doing that convention with her. And yeah, I want to live my life. And eventually I want to move to Toronto. I discovered the whole stupid political situation because I had a job lined up in Toronto. couldn't get there because I couldn't find a place to stay. That wasn't going to charge me a fortune. How does
Yeah,
this happen?
rents are ridiculous. That's why that's why I've gone above and beyond to get involved with the things that I get involved with here. That's part of the reason why we formed a tenants union to get we're trying to pass a tenant bill of rights right now in the state house because of the fact that rents are ridiculous. You know, I have my apartment is like 1150, but I live on an active construction site and it's been like this for 2 years. So it's not safe. And, slumlords think they can do whatever they feel like these days. So some brave other neighbors banded up with me and we're hoping that we can be the change that this community needs. We've had the right to organize since 1986 and no one's ever done it. We're the first tenant union in the states and we've had the right to organize since 86. Imagine that.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're trying to make it, people don't realize all the rights that the landlords have. They have to have renters insurance, so that kind of comes with them having a lawyer already, so they're already represented when they go into court. Not everybody, when you're a tenant, can afford to have legal representation. So with passing the tenant bill of rights, they would automatically have legal representation when they have to go into court with anything against a landlord.
Yeah. No, it is hard. I don't know what you guys are going to do. I've interviewed one filmmaker who said if Trump gets back in, he's moving to Canada. Because he said that, well, he's just on the outskirts of Canada and he shot 8 seasons of Psych up here. So he said he's got an in. And then there's those that don't want Trump in and prefer Biden. At least here, Poilievre is at least a great alternative to Trudeau.
Yeah, here it's we're damned either way at this point because neither one of them should be in office.
No. So I don't know, but you mentioned the purge. I would hate to see it come to that, but you know what? Realistically, that doesn't seem that friggin' far away.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer to that. Once upon a time, the government, that was the whole point of everything was, free country, but there's nothing free about being in this country unless you're already rich.
Hmm. Yep. So I don't know if the purge became a thing. I don't know what I would do. Actually, somebody told me what he would do. He'd go out in the middle of the woods there somewhere and he'd wait until the whole thing passed.
I think a lot of people would do that, because of the scare factor. Not everybody's, brave enough to do that thing. But like I'm a walking target right now, having, formed a tenant union. So the purge probably wouldn't scare me all that much after doing this.
No, but nonetheless, yeah. But I wish politicians would learn to realize that they work for us, not vice versa. Like I said, the current guy in office right now has already admitted that he likes China's dictatorship, and that's really, really scary because we know what he's trying to do.
Right.
Yep. And I know due to the whole George Floyd situation in the States that the cops lost that battle. The cops found out that they are outnumbered. And I was saying, well, when we see our current prime minister walk around with a whole bunch of security and an armored vehicle and whatnot, I'm like, I'm saying, what is stopping people from getting aggressive? And they said, because Canadians won't do it. But I'm like, if I were in his shoes, I'd be fucking afraid of that happening. Like I'd be like, you know what? What can we do to satisfy the fucking people?
Unfortunately, they don't care about the people. They're only thinking about themselves in the situation.
Yep. But I don't live there, so I don't have to deal with it. But I really can't stand what situation. I noticed something on your Facebook the other day that I thought was really cool. That when I was reading up on you, it said uh, pronouns, and you put "try me" or something like that, or what it was. You got the same
Yeah,
you got the same attitude towards that shit that I have.
yeah. It's I've gotten to the point where, with everything I've gone through in my life, um, it doesn't matter what it's been, I always come back out on top.
Mhm.
So it's at this point, it's become a game. If you think you're gonna try and bring me down or discourage me, that just pushes me to go harder.
Mhm.
That means I'm doing something right. If people don't like me and they're coming at me for whatever reason, they're either a hater or, you know, there's somebody I've helped in at one point or another and I no longer speak with because of the loyalty issue. Because people these days have no clue what loyalty is.
Oh, nope. I see your point, and so for me, I think I think that whatever people do behind closed doors, fine. Don't force it on everybody else. I'm
I
straight,
agree
but
with you.
yeah, I'm straight, but I don't go around shoving it down everybody's friggin' throat, you know? But
Exactly. Everybody's entitled to love who they want to love, but I agree with you 100%. It does not need to be pushed down people's throats 24/7.
yeah. Well, wait, I saw a video the other day where I don't know whether it was a guy with the airline or whatever went into a men's washroom and there was tampons and stuff in there. And he was like, "What the
Yeah, because all bathrooms now are, his and hers now because of the all the new laws that have been put in place surrounding the gay community. So, I mean, that's a norm now, unfortunately. Like, there's no going to the bathroom and just being in the ladies' room and it just being all the ladies. You never know who's going to come in, or
And that has been that has
I'm
been
probably gonna
abused.
catch a lot of slack. I'm not trying to say, I'm not hating on anybody. I'm not trying to, talk badly about anybody, but you're trying too hard to change things,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think everybody has a right to be what they want to be and whatever it may be. But whenever it starts, like when I hear about them, and I put my foot down on this, I haven't seen it yet, and I will not succumb to it. Litter boxes being put in washrooms because people thinking they're cats or furries.
Oh my goodness.
And my employer even said the same thing to me. Nope, we will not deal with that.
I mean,
You
I
know?
can see people bringing like a dog to work, but having litter boxes so people can bring their cats, that's a little bit
No,
much.
not bringing their cats. People thinking they're cats and taking a shit in their litter box.
Oh God, I totally misunderstood that. Okay, that's even
Yeah.
worse. Oh wow. All right, I've heard about like these people that are going around dressed up like animals, but I didn't realize how off kilter they really were.
Yeah. So when it starts affecting my job like that, I'm like, no. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm not cleaning up a litter box after a person. I'm sorry. There's a line and that's it.
Yeah. But nonetheless, that's our political rant for the but I kind of noticed that about your thing. You're like me. You're fighting for your own individuality. You're trying to live your life without having all this shit piled in on top of you, you know, and it's it is difficult, and I just wish people would stay in their own lane, you know, but nonetheless, I wanted to ask how, well, I guess you already mentioned how you get to know Shaun Doucette, but has he ever pitched Unicorn Eye?
I have. He has. every time there's any kind of interaction with me and Shaun, Unicorn's involved. um, I haven't had to interview Unicorn yet because my show is just audio, so Unicorn doesn't usually get involved. But anything online, Unicorn is always a part of conversations.
You know something? I used to do these by phone when I did them at the station, but after COVID happened, and the station went into lockdown, I wasn't able to do it. It was actually it was Nancy McLaughlin from Jason Lives that introduced me to Zoom, and my friend Carrie Yates, who was somebody I have met through association through 13 Fanboy, film that both of us were involved with and both had horrid experiences with. But nonetheless, she helped me get broke in on it. So it's kind of nice doing these on Zoom and not have to leave my apartment. But I've had a few that can't do Zoom, and I don't know how to do record interviews outside Zoom.
Yeah, it gets a little difficult. I did the same thing. So my show airs out of an internet radio station. So during COVID, we couldn't do it and had to do it at home. So we started using Zoom and StreamYard. And I find I like StreamYard more because put you can do it like a Zoom interview, or you can just pull the audio. So that makes life a lot easier. And um I'm probably going to go back to that aspect when I re-release my other show within the next few weeks with the StreamYard and whatnot. So I'm going to have to reintroduce myself to StreamYard and the whole Zoom thing for more than just a normal like work meeting now.
Well, talk about let's give me some of your background and how you got to where you are now. Did it start with you with radio?
Actually, no. This all started out of left field. I had never done radio, had no interest in doing radio, or at least I didn't think I did. I had gone to a convention called Rock and Shock back in 2014, that used to be held here in Worcester at the DCU Center in Massachusetts. And that's how I met. That was when I first met James Balsamo, and I had met a bunch of different people that were doing podcasts. And it was a whole new world to me. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. So one of the podcasts that was there, I was called the Scream Sisters, and I ended up linking up with them. And that's how I got into the whole podcasting thing. Um, I didn't feel the energy. Like I like to do things where I feel that there's a good energy, that it's gonna be something that's gonna be beneficial, that I want to keep doing. I wasn't feeling that energy, and there was different things I wanted to try. So I struck out on my own, and that's when I started my own first show. And that's when I started Shock Treatment. And we did that. I did that with a co-host for a few years. That's when I first started with 990 WVOB. And then COVID hit. So, had to, like you said, we switched everything over to doing Zooms and whatnot so that we can still continue to do shows. The only benefits of that is that you can upload to like Spotify and all the streaming platforms and YouTube. So that's a little more beneficial for all of that. Um, it's just been a weird road that I never saw myself going down. I love doing this now, and the more conventions that I go to, the more people that I come in contact with and meet, I keep getting interviews out of them. A lot of people now are approaching me. There's been a lot of word of mouth. One of my most recent guests was Anastasia and Richard Elfman, who are like killing it right now with their film Bloody Bridget, with the circuit, the, the movie circuits. And I'm just very, very grateful that, after all this time, I'm still doing this, because a lot of people have backup support. They have people that push them and promote them, and I do everything pretty much on my own. So I'm very grateful to still be doing this after all this time. And by doing the radio things, it's gotten me in contact with people where it's presented opportunities for me to learn other things, which is how I got into the film aspect and, like learning different things because now I'm like, give me more. I love to learn new things. I've always loved movies. I've always loved film. I've always loved music, entertainment. So what better field to be in than something you actually truly enjoy? And, anything that doesn't feel like work is the best thing because I don't know. I don't know about you with how you do your show, but it just drives me harder to go harder and, keep that happiness because it's the one thing that truly does make me happy is doing, my show and whatnot.
I have I could probably seek your advice on this because when I did Frightmare in the Falls last year, I assisted Lisa Langlois. Of course, that's I've done three with her, and I'm about to do my first in the US, my fourth with her. But when I did Frightmare in the Falls last year, um, it is so easy to get caught up in stuff and go over budget. I think I got about 30 autographs there. And I tell you, my budget was hurting. I'll tell you that. How do you, what do you typically do when you go to the cons when it comes? Do you have a set amount of autographs you go after, or how do you budget yourself when you do that?
I'll be completely honest. Now that I'm on the other side of a table at a convention where I'm actually like a guest liaison, um, I haven't really thought about budgeting when it comes to like getting different autographs and stuff. But when I first started going to conventions, I was like, oh, okay, so Felissa Rose is going to be at this one, Kane Hodder is going to be at this one. It's going to cost this much to go for the weekend. Like I literally pick and choose. And like if I know they're going to be at another show that's somewhere else nearby, if I can't get it at this show, I'll get it at the next show. But I've always managed to not go too nuts because I did one time and that was a crazy moment. So I try not to, I've reeled myself back from going absolutely insane, but I kind of plan if I know there's a show, like I have a show next weekend that we're doing. So like
Mhm.
when I wasn't going as a someone just looking like as a normal con goer, um, I would literally budget for months um, to make sure that I had everything I needed for that weekend between gas money, the hotel, autographs, souvenirs. I usually never go without, I probably save a good couple $1,000s to go between all of that.
Yeah, I probably spent about that when I was at Frightmare in the Falls last year, and I'm like, I'm thinking about if I can, because I mean, this time it's American money, so like I said, it's my first con in the States, but I'm kind of like, can I keep it to 1,000? Can I keep it to that? Sometimes some people would say you should be able to, but I mean, when you get there and you get all these people, one thing I might do, whether I actually do it or not, because I am going to be assisting Lisa at her table, and she's my first priority while I'm there. Because I know Saturday will be the busiest, of course, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. I might possibly just wait till Sunday and see who's all still left there.
That's actually what I've started doing too at this point too. Like
Yeah.
a lot of conventions now that anything that's been local wise anyway has only been a Saturday and Sunday event now. So I'll go in on Saturday, I'll scope everything out, see who's where, who has what, both vendors and guests. And then on Sunday, whoever's left, I do the same thing. That's who I'll go and buy whatever it is, whether it's a book from an author or a movie from one of the guests. I'll grab everything on Sunday because then at least then I know I gave myself time to look at everything and not just impulsively buy everything as I'm walking by a table.
Who's most expensive autograph you ever got at a con?
My most expensive autograph has been Jason Momoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was $110 for the professional photo op, and then it was another almost $100 for his autograph.
Chiller has got, I don't know, must be about 75 guests, maybe more. It's going to be there. And I think their big guest is William Shatner. And I've heard he's expensive. Sybil
And
Shepherd's.
and he doesn't usually sign on site. You have to leave your item and then he'll sign it and send it back to you.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You mean like send it back to me, like mail it?
Yeah. That's what he's done when he's gone done shows here. So he's been a guest at Rhode Island Comic Con a few times, and when he's come for that particular show, I don't know if he does it for everyone he does, but he only does the show from certain hours. So like on Saturday, if the show is from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., William Shatner will only be at a table to meet the con goers from like noon to 3. And if you want anything autographed, you have to either send it in prior or bring it with you. And but either way, you're gonna wait for it to get back to you. Him and
Wow.
Tim Curry. Yeah, him and Tim Curry were both the same thing when they came to Rhode Island Comic Con. If you wanted an autograph, it had to be you leave your item, give them all your information, and then they sign it once they're back home or whatever. They'll sign it and send it back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no thanks. Because if it's like I get a lot of Blu-rays signed, you know? I'm not leaving that.
Right. And then that gives me the doubts too, because you don't know unless they include a video of them actually physically signing that piece. You don't know if that's actually really them or if they have a stamp that that they can just stamp on it. So it kind of takes away from that joy when you approach a celebrity, especially if it's one you've never met before. There's just something about that first initial moment when you meet them and they're actually signing your your item that goes with that thrill of going to a convention, and that I feel that kind of takes away from that thrill.
Yes. So, yeah, and Sybil Shepherd's doing her first convention there. And she's only going to be there Friday and Saturday. So I kind of wanted to meet her, but then again, I don't know what her price is going to be, you know? And they're going to have Griffin Dunn there. I'm tempted to meet because I've already got American Werewolf in London signed by David Naughton. So,
Yeah.
yep. And not only that, Rosanna Arquette is going to be there, who I'd like to meet. I I love After Hours, and I'm like, if I got him and Rosanna, just sign that, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like one of those talked about pieces that you have set up.
Yeah, I like getting my Blu-rays signed, and but nonetheless, I also I like to meet the people that's actually done my show as well, you know? So kind of as a way of saying thanks, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. And and
Well,
and and like I said too, like with me too, sometimes having meet them at the show is how I get them to come on mine.
mhm.
But either way, that first initial meeting is always something that you remember. Like I remember my first time meeting every celebrity that I've met. And I can tell you how I felt at that exact moment when I met that person. Like it was like when I first finally met Kane Hodder, I was so scared to meet him and approach him that I literally talked myself out of it. So we were at Scaricon in, I think at the time I think it was their first or their second year. So I think they were in Framingham that's at that time. And Felissa was literally on the other side of the curtain from where Kane was sitting. And I was telling the story to somebody, and she overheard me, and she was like, dude, how are you scared to go and meet Kane? He's super cool. Because I absolutely adore Felissa. I think she's fantastic. Her energy, you know, she's one of those people. If you haven't met her at a con, you need to go just for that alone.
I've met Felissa twice. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get her on here.
Felissa's not easy to get on a show. She's always so busy. As long as I've known Felissa, I've never even had her on mine.
Well, she's doing if you look at her IMDb, it's like either post-production, currently filming, pre-production she's got a big list of them. It's like,
She does. And then she does and I think she's actually still doing a podcast with Kane and Tiffany Shepis. They do a podcast together. So I know too with that, there's contractual issues that they can't do other shows sometimes why they're, you know, they when they're filming that. So that does, if you try to touch base with her in that period of time where they're doing that show, she won't be able to do your show. So it's learning the different ins and outs. Like that's why I love the fact that a lot of these guests that I've had on my show, I have no problem asking them, okay, what do you want to talk about? What do you not want to talk about? Is there something that's coming up that's really important to you that you want to make sure that you know, my listeners and your fans will want to know about? Just to make sure, you know, I don't miss anything to keep that, you know, I want you keep them happy and they'll be a guest for whenever you need them. One of my favorite guests, he's my first time, long time, is Mick Strawn. He's a special effects artist from, he's done Nightmare on Elm Streets 3 and 4, Boogie Nights, Blade, like the list goes on and on. And he's one of those people that I can call for any reason at any time and just be like, hey, how are you? I was, you know, we're doing a show right now and I'm trying to kill some time. And I figured, let me call you and get your opinion on this. And he's totally cool with it.
Oh wow, he did Boogie Nights, huh?
Yeah, Mick, oh my God. Mick Strawn, if you have not interviewed Mick, is a
I haven't.
must have. You have to definitely have Mick on. The stories that Mick will tell you are so next level. I bought his book because he did a book in regards to Nightmare on Elm Street. So, you know, it's a picture book, you know, he writes a nice little autograph inside it. And he's been in the field for so long that the stories like I've been told stories about him dropping a bag of prosthetic penises on a table while they were filming Boogie Nights. He walked into a meeting and just dropped them all on the table. Um, Telling stories about why they were filming. They were filming one movie. Anthony Perkins was on another set right next to them filming his project, and nobody could find Anthony Perkins. And then come to find out, he was tripping on acid and couldn't find his way back to set. So like everybody was on the hunt for him. So like he's got the best stories I've ever heard from anybody on set. So he's a definite. You need to check him out.
Okay, you'll have to
I could
try.
help arrange that.
Yeah, yes, I got to. Yeah. Yeah, I've only had one of the Jasons on the podcast, and I had and it was my favorite one. And he's no longer with us, but I had him on twice, and that was Ted White. I had him on twice, and he was Jason in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Um, he played Jason to me the scariest, especially when he was just scant inches behind Kimberly Beck chasing her up those stairs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he brought it. I got a signed hockey mask from him, and I got a couple signed pictures. So he was 96 when he passed, but boy, did he tell some stories, like doing double stunt double work for John Wayne and Clark Gable and Lee Marvin and people like that. He told some amazing stories, you know. A lot of times too, when somebody's passed away, I've done tribute interviews, you know. Um, I've had Zoe Tamerlis Lund's widow on here 5 times to talk about Miss 45, you know. Um, and that was amazing. I've had Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on here. Audrey Hepburn's eldest son has been on here.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah. Um, I'm still in touch with Roddy Piper's daughter, Ariel. She's a trip. I've had Bella Lugosi Jr. on here. Sarah Karloff has been on here. Um, and I've had somebody that worked very closely with Ray Harryhausen come on here as well because I love Clash of the Titans, the original, you know.
Yeah, who doesn't love that movie? That's a classic.
Yeah, I hated the remake, but I love the original. So,
Same.
yeah. So, that's what I do a lot of times if somebody's passed away, you know, and
I might
other,
actually steal that idea from you.
yeah.
I like that. I think that's a fantastic idea. When I first got into the podcasting thing, so anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge, huge fan of Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses.
Hmm.
So that was what kicked me into going to my first convention was that Sid Haig was going to be there with Bill Moseley.
Hmm.
And Sid Haig was my first celebrity interview. That was it. From there on out, anytime I saw Sid, that's Uncle Sid. That was Uncle Sid. Anytime I would bring up chocolate chip cookies, like that you do I developed a relationship with him through the conventions, and he was such a great and humble person, and the stories that he would tell, like he had a band back in the 50s. He was a licensed hypnotist. Like there was just so much about him that people didn't even realize that he did. So like being able to have those moments where you're sitting down at maybe dinner or you're having a snack together, throughout the day or at a convention. That's the reason why I do it, for those moments where you get a celebrity one on one and they just start telling you stories about why they do it. To hear the love of why they do what they do, or to just see it on their face, because a lot of them, you still can see the love on their face that they have for it, and the love that they have for their fans. Like a lot of the times, Sid was by himself a lot. He didn't usually have a handler. So I would be making rounds and helping him out or whoever, because I try to be all over the place just to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And that man, there was not one person that ever walked away from that table that could ever say anything bad about him. He would have veterans go up to his table, he would thank them for their service, and then he wouldn't even take their money, for getting an autograph. He was like, "You served this country." He's like, "I'm not taking your money. Enjoy the rest of the show." So to see interactions like that, it makes it so worth everything. Like I could go sit at a show, not buy a single thing. I literally want to just people watch and watch the interactions with everybody, because watching everybody's look of happiness when they walk away from the guest that they want to meet, when they finally meet that guest that they've been wanting to meet, it's kind of it's like, wow, look, that one little moment, and they're going to remember that for the rest of their life. You got 30 seconds, you get like 30 seconds to a few minutes depending on how long their line is, but that's a moment that you're going to remember forever. And it's that alone to me is worth it. I don't feel the need anymore to always have to buy something, but I like to watch for those moments.
Well, one of the reasons why I do tribute interviews as well is that um, it allows me to be able to highlight some of these older movies and whatnot, because um, I'm more old school, so I like a lot of the classics and this and that, and so I like to interview people that's been part of those. But yeah, you mentioned being part of it. Like I'm about to do my fourth convention with Lisa Langlois, and she's a delight, and I'm happy to call her my friend. And yeah, and there's been a few others I stayed. Like I've not met Nancy McLaughlin yet, but she and I talk regularly. You know,
Yeah,
yep,
Beatrice Bobley from Nightmare on Elm
love
Street
her.
5. She's a doll. She called me one weekend. There was going to be a new convention in New York. She was like, "How far away from New York are you?" I had just met her a few months prior at a Monster Expo show, and I had worked with her and Anna and Erica Anderson, and I love the both of them. So she's like, "We're both doing this show. How far is this place from you?" And so I looked it up. I'm like, "It's about 3 hours." And she was like, "Well, you want to come and work with us?" I'm like, "Sure." I recruited my friend to come down. So she took a train in from Boston, and I picked her up at the train station in Providence, and we left from here and went to New York for the weekend to go and do this show. I absolutely, like I said, the interactions when there's not a show. I ended up having dinner with Beatrice, Ari Lehman, and his band, First Jason. And I'm like, sometimes you still have to pinch yourself. Like, is this really happening right now? Am I really having dinner with these people? And I still get that fangirl moment here and there, depending on who it is. If I haven't met them yet, like when I met Jason Momoa, yeah, we totally fangirls at that one because that was like at the height of Game of Thrones, with who wasn't in love with Khal Drogo's character at that point. Um, Malcolm McDowell was a fantastic person to have an opportunity to meet and get to chat with because
Oh wow.
that man, oh my goodness, the stories that he told me, like I talked to him for like a half an hour at his table and he didn't even care. And and this was before I really was into the whole podcasting thing on my own. So I would love to have him come on a show now and be able to interview him as opposed to just having that moment at the table. But I think he's one of those ones that are probably out of my
I've
reach
I've
still.
had I've had a couple of Clockwork Orange guests on the show. I had Clive Francis, who was the lodger, the guy that was in his room whenever he comes back out of prison.
Yeah.
Total gentleman. And I had oh, her name is escaping me. The woman, the nurse that comes out and her tits are hanging out there at the end there when
Oh,
they're
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember what her name is either.
yeah, I had her on the show as well. So I've been lucky to get a couple from that movie. So, anyway, have you ever had any bad con experiences?
Um, I think the only really bad con experience I've had with a guest that I had approached, it was, you never know what they're going through. So I try not to take it personally. But I had met Tara Reid at Comic-Con, and she wasn't exactly the friendliest person that day.
Oh,
So it kind of killed the experience. I ended up being more interested in her dogs that she had with her. She had two little like puppies that were sitting behind her in a little pet bed, and I ended up losing complete interest in wanting to even talk to her, and I started asking her questions about her dogs,
okay. Okay.
which kind of put her in a better mood, but not really. Like I said, I don't like to badmouth. I'm not trying to badmouth, but because you
No.
never know what happened that day. But people, you got to remember too, they're real. They're. they're human. They have emotions and problems just like everybody else. So it's just remembering not to take it personal. But sometimes it's hard, like because I've always thought I thought she was cool. You know, I like those stupid Sharknado movies, and I liked her in the American Pie movies. You know, granted, she's like one of those celebrities that have had a little bit of a history with like the partying and whatnot. But you know,
Mhm.
everybody's done their share of partying at some point in their life, so you can't hold that against them. You know, people change. Some people don't, but you know, you just got to give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Well, looking at your, because whenever Sean put me in touch with you, like you got an IMB Internet Movie Database page, and
Yeah.
yeah, and you've got a number of stuff lined up here, and I know he had mentioned that I noticed that you have an uncredited role as a concert goer in Good Burger 2. I have not seen Good Burger 2 because I don't watch television. I just got my television set up to play my Blu-rays.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I hated Good Burger when I saw it in the theater back in 1997.
So
Every time
I actually liked it. I thought it was a cute
yeah.
movie. It was, you know, it was a good time. And that's one of those movies that, you know, I didn't feel awkward watching with my 8-year-old nephew.
Hmm.
So when I did Good Burger 2, you know, that was just like a last minute thing that I didn't think was going to happen because it was filmed here in Rhode Island. And, you know, that was the big thing. That's all anybody was talking about because there was nowhere in the state you could go where they hadn't been in that area to either shoot a scene or just to go out and have dinner. So, you know, that was all everybody talked about the entire time they were here filming. The concert scene was amazing because, you know, when you actually, it's so different being in front of a camera or behind the camera, the
Hmm.
way it's, you know, with presentation and whatnot. So there's a lot of sitting around, a lot of sitting around. Our call time was 7:30 at night. So we had to go and meet at the Providence Place Mall, which was crazy because they had us sitting in an old empty Bed Bath and Beyond for like 5 hours before they moved us to another location that was like 2 blocks away, um, which was going to be where we were actually going to shoot the scene. I don't think we actually shot the scene until it was probably almost 1 o'clock when we actually really shot the scene. And for as long as we sat there, we were only on set for an hour. But that hour was like one of the most fun hours I've ever had. Like as you're walking in, they're handing us glow sticks and um, you know, things that lit up, you know, things you'd get at a concert. So, you know, they're trying to fill a venue that was here. That scene was shot at the Strand, which is a smaller venue where everybody, I think I just set my alarm clock off. It's a smaller venue where everybody, um, they hold like, it's like mostly local bands play at. It's not like a Dunkin' Donuts center where for a bigger concert. But let me tell you, that scene in the movie, it looked like it was for at a venue for a bigger show. So, you know, just being there and filming that scene and then seeing that part of the movie in the film itself was kind of cool. I mean, you don't even see us because like it was more focused, like everything. Yeah, everybody ended up getting like blacked out of that scene pretty much. Like
You don't
you
see
see the
you at
crowds,
all?
but you could see like my shadow because I was like up in the balcony. So like
Okay.
you see a shadow. That's about it with me. Like, but just to have been a say, just to say, yeah, I was a part of Good Burger too, was a cool thing because like they literally where they had us was right behind. It was like connected to the Strand where they had us waiting for the second spot. And as we're waiting, we're coming outside to go into the Strand, and like Keenan and Kel were taking a break and they were grabbing something off the food trucks that were set up in between the two buildings. And, you know, you could hear the conversations. And literally, as soon as we shot the scene, because I think it was a Friday night, they got Kel on the bus or whatever to take him back to New York so he could go film Saturday Night Live. So like there was so much going on. It was crazy. But the sitting around waiting for that actual moment, that was a little much, but it was so worth it at the end when, you finally see the final project. So my nephew had a good time with watching that too, because he spent the whole movie playing like I Spy trying to find me in the movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing the first one in the theater and I thought, oh, this looks like a fun movie. And I was just annoyed that every time he goes, uh, hi, I'm Ed.
Gilbert.
Welcome to Good Burger, the home of the Good Burger. Can I take your eyes? Like, oh, would you oh, I just get annoyed, you know.
Oh
Um,
yeah. We
yeah,
liked we liked the part where he was like strawberry jacuzzi and he's like in the milkshake machine.
yeah. But I mean, I like I haven't seen the second one, so I mean, like it didn't come to our theaters, but I'm
I
glad.
actually I between the two of them, I actually like the first one better.
Oh, really? Well, it doesn't say
Yeah,
much for
I'll be
me, does
honest with
it?
that. I actually like the first one better. So you haven't really missed anything, but just the experience alone, it was good to have that experience. So, and again, I'm not bashing the movie. It's just
Well, I'm
after
glad you had that
it was just
experience, you know?
yeah, it was just so many years between the initial movie and the time to make a sequel that it didn't have like if they had done it sooner, it probably would have had a bigger effect on me. But just to say that, yeah, all right. So they filmed Good Burger 2 here in Rhode Island, and I was able to be a part of that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like little moments where that give me opportunities to have a story to tell.
Yeah. Well, you've got I gotta bring up some of your other stuff up here too. Because I mean, you got listed here as producer and director and uh
I American Sasquatch. I was costume. I put together the costume while we were on set. I sewed the costume onto a guy when we did that because it was an independent horror film. It was a segment in an anthology film. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything, just trying to find a feel of where in film I like to put my use to. I guess you could say. Costume is not my thing. Um, I actually like the whole being in front of the camera thing more. It's a lot less stressful.
what's the Gingerweed Man?
The Gingerweed Man. Oh, that's a good one. So the Gingerweed Man is from Full Moon Pictures, Puppet
Okay.
Master and all that. So just to be a part of that legacy is something that I am over the hills about because I'll sing that from the treetops that yeah, I was a part of that. It was crowdfunded and everybody that donated money towards the film, they gave an executive producer credit. So that's how I ended up being a part of that. But then in the same token, when the movie actually was released on video, because I had had Brooks on my show, Brooks actually gives me a shout out on the documentary on the 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 extras. So not only is my name in the credits with my late fiance, but I also get a shout out in the outtakes and whatnot, which is cool. So it's something that I'm proud of. I'll promote it. Everybody's a pothead these days. I have my little Gingy doll, my that Brooke sent me like a whole little setup. Like
Yeah.
I'm just so appreciative of the experiences that I've been able to be a part of. And again, it's just things I happen to fall into. Um, with that, I never thought I'd do something like that. I just happened to get an email saying, well, if you do this, you get this. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to do this so I can be a part of this because I had been following the creation of Gingy and the character and, watching everything as he was trying to get it all together to get that movie filmed. Um, it came out on 420. So, tomorrow I'll sit here and that'll be one of the films that we probably watch throughout the course of the day. Because, everybody's going to celebrate 420 tomorrow. Um, and it's just a fun feature. It's 45 minutes. It's the craziest thing in the world. I've been talking to Brooks about once things quiet down with this whole forming the tenant union thing with my neighbors, I'm
Mhm.
actually contemplating writing the sequel, writing a sequel for it so that we can see more of Gingy in action.
Oh, I just noticed I got a woman here. Uh, Ellie Jane plays Smokehunters.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like the names of the characters, he worked at FU. There's like a lot of little Easter eggs. Like there's a serum at the beginning, and it totally reminds you. It throws off that the reanimator vibes. So if you're really paying attention, there's a lot of like Easter eggs to popular 80s films. So it's a good time. There's one scene, it's absolutely hysterical. There's a sex scene with Gingy where he goes to deliver the weed to a client and they're a couple, but they're swingers. And that entire scene is so off the wall and it's hysterical. And there's like an extended version of that when you buy the movie. So like because it's not already an insane of enough scene, let's extend it. So it just made it even funnier.
Wow. Well, I like that when they give them interesting names like that.
That's actually I think if I'm not mistaken, it's on Prime streaming still, and I think it's on Tubi. So they're free to check out if you're streaming into streaming movies.
Gingerweed Man. Yeah, yeah, and they say Hollywood has no ideas. Well, people seem to come up with this. I mean, look at Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Like people seem to come up with something. I don't know what's wrong with Hollywood can't find ideas because there's people out there that pull them out of their ass from everywhere.
Seriously, like there's plenty of writers out there that would love the opportunity to put into production an original film. So, it's like go with those people. Stop rebooting everything. Stop remaking everything. You're killing the movies that we grew up loving because you're trying to capitalize and not have to put any thought into it. And, yeah, sometimes they'll have a hit with their reboot, but most of them have been absolutely atrocious. And I'm like, no, let's get these writers in here. That's why I love the indie film so much better because, you get movies from filmmakers like from like Trauma. I mean, just to think, Trauma is where James Gunn got his start. And now James Gunn owns part of the WB and is remaking like the entire DC universe. He wrote Guardians of the Galaxy, like, and his first movie was Romeo and Juliet. So there are people out there that love this work and love to make movies. So let those people do their job and let them make their movies. Let them give us the things that we want to see. Stop making everything so cookie cutter. And, that's why there's a rating system in place. Pay attention to what your kids are watching. Parents are always like, oh, everything's so violent. Well, pay attention to your child. Don't ruin it for everybody else, you
Yep.
know?
Oh yeah. That's an issue.
Yeah, like these kids with their cancel culture, you know. Oh my God, there's too much blood. We need to cancel this movie. No, I need to cancel you because this movie was here way before you were even a glimmer in your parents' eyes. Like, don't ruin my childhood because you can't handle it.
I always find it funny when these religious fanatics go after movies and I always mention to them, yeah, you don't like R-rated films? Did you like The Passion of the Christ? Because that was definitely that came close to an X rating. And by
Right.
the way, I love The Passion of the Christ. It was fit right in with on the cover of Fangoria magazine.
So the convention I work with is Monster Expo, and we started our own New England version of Fangoria called Monster Mag. And the first issue that was released, I had my interview with Lloyd Kaufman in that. And, it says on there 18 plus because of the content. And like people are like, there's a segment that Beatrice writes called Ask Amanda. So because she's a nun and people aren't familiar, people aren't putting two and two together that in the movie because she was a nun, that's a movie. And people are like, oh my God, that's so blasphemous that you have a nun writing in a horror magazine. Like, do you even know who she is? Like, before you start ranting, you know, and throwing Bibles at people. Do you know what's really going on here before you,
Yeah.
start yelling at people? And the comments that they've gotten in regards to that segment is ridiculous that you wouldn't think that it would be like that.
Oh, they prefer we watch some stupid Kirk Cameron movie like Fireproof or Saving Christmas, which sorry,
No,
they
thank
can,
you.
yeah. If any of them that are saying that's top quality, they're lying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah. But nonetheless, what else do you got coming up?
Right now, my big focus is I haven't done a normal uh radio show. So next Wednesday, April 24th, I'm finally gonna have Bill Mosley on my show. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's gonna be the midweek kickoff because next weekend he's a guest at Monster Expo's Halfway to Halloween show.
I haven't
So
had him on yet.
yeah, this is gonna be my first interview with him on a show on one of my shows too. So I'm ecstatic because he's another one I've been trying to get as a guest. So he's another one I get to cross off my bucket list, so
You want me to
it's
tell
a
you my
feeling of
Bill Mosley story?
accomplishment. I would love to hear it because and maybe and if he remember and I want to bring it up to him when he's on the show, if he see if he remembers.
Well, I met him at Frightmare in the Falls a couple of years back. I didn't recognize him because he looks nothing like he does in Devil's Rejects, I'll tell you that. Um, anyway, I went over and I met Michael Berryman, who I did get on here not too long ago, and he was over there. I guess Bill Mosley and Michael Berryman often travel together for these things. So I have my Blu-ray of Devil's Rejects to get signed, and I said to Bill, I said, "Is Sherry Moon Zombie as beautiful in person as she appears?" And he says, I think that's a Michael Berryman question. So I turned to Michael Berryman and I repeated the question, and he says, "She's very lovely, yes." And I said, "Is she as beautiful as Bill Mosley here?" And he goes, "Anybody's prettier than that thing." Bill
That's
Bill
funny.
Mosley is standing there like aghast, goes, "Hey, I thought we were friends."
The last show I did, I finally had gotten to meet Michael Berryman, and Walter Phelan was one of the guests as well. From House of a Thousand Corpses, he was Dr. Satan. So I was in my glory because Michael Berryman, I've loved him since I first saw him in Weird Science and The Hills Have Eyes. And then, Walter Phelan, Rob Zombie, enough said for me. So I had, it was Michael Berryman, Walter Phelan, and David Sheridan all in my car going back to the hotel after the show. I brought them all back. The stories between the three of them and the going back and forth with one another while they're in my car, I'm like, you can't make this up. Like those are times again, like I said earlier, that those are times where you wish you could have the camera automatically set up all the time to record all of this stuff going on. because I think that would be one hell of a movie to present to people, like the behind the scenes of the convention.
Yeah, I've had a few funny moments like that. You mentioned Felissa Rose earlier. Last year, Frightmare in the Falls, um, Felissa Rose had pictures of, for the first time that I've seen, I met her twice, pictures of herself with the image of her with the penis from Sleepaway Camp.
Yep.
And I was in line to meet, because I had already met Felissa, I was in line to meet Christy Swanson. And anyway, I picked out a picture, obviously a bikini picture of Christy Swanson. Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
Christy Swanson. I can't be mad at you. Like, who to, anybody that didn't have some type of a crush on Christy Swanson, back in the 80s when Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out, you know, I can understand why every single, like, she was every teenage boy's crush.
well, she was kind of focused on that picture of Felissa. That was because Felissa was the next table over, and I don't think she had seen Sleepaway Camp because she was like, she was just fixated on that, and like, really? You are getting that? You're signing that for people and whatnot? So I had that picture out there of her in the bikini, and Felissa took a little tiny post-it, drew a dick on it,
Yep.
stuck it on the crotch of that picture.
I love it.
Christy,
I I can only imagine she must have like died right there if that
Christy
picture was like.
Swanson, Christy Swanson looks at that and she goes, "Why is it so small?"
It's cold in here.
And of course, Felissa, the two times I met her, she was doing the shows with Dave Sheridan, who was dressed as Officer Doofy.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm always telling them we need the Officer Doofy Angela from Sleepaway Camp crossover. I got an image, a picture of him sticking that hose up her hindquarters. And she just sitting
Oh
there
my God.
smiling. Yeah, you
So
can't phase Angela.
so David was, like I said, David was a guest at one of the most recent Monster Expo shows, and I worked with him over the course of the weekend. And he actually
Hmm.
has the vacuum now from Scary Movie, and
Hmm.
he brings that with him now. So yeah, the thoughts going through my head now that you're saying that, I can only imagine because they're both going to be guests at the Christmas, Halloween in July show that we're doing in New Hampshire. So yeah, I might have to make something happen that weekend with a crossover with Sleepaway Camp and Deputy Doofy.
Yep. Yeah.
Just for you. I'm gonna have to make something happen with that now.
Now I noticed you got the Halloween shirt on. I love the original Halloween, and um, I've had Sandy Johnson on here. She's somebody you should reach out to. She was Judith Myers. She is a lovely soul. And but anyway, what did you think of the last three Halloween movies? Because I'm gonna tell you my thoughts. I enjoyed Halloween 2018. I enjoyed Halloween Kills up to a point. I'll tell you something I would have done. When he took the big beating by the crowd,
Hmm.
after that beating was done, I would have had a moment where they had to turn, I don't know, something happens where they come and, he's the boogeyman's dead or whatever. And next time when they turn over, he's not there. That's what I would have done. Spoiler alert, but I would not have had Karen get killed. And I'll tell you why. She just lost her husband, which means her daughter just lost her father. Why does she have to lose her fucking mother as well?
Right.
I felt that was a bit overload and it kind of ruined Halloween Kills for me, despite the fact it was cool to see Kyle Richards in this. I had major issues with Halloween Ends. One, the legacy cast, they seem to go right the sidelines in that one. Um, like Kyle Richards, you barely see at all. Um, I had nothing against the Corey Cunningham character. The performance was fine, but being introducing that in this third of this trilogy, too little, too late. They should have went with what they originally were going to do. All three in one night, and the third one ends at dawn.
Right.
I have not purchased Halloween Ends because I had a few issues with the way Michael was more or less being manhandled by Corey there at some one point, and I'm like, okay. And seeing what David Gordon Green, who did such a great job of movies like Pineapple Express, but seeing what he did with even Exorcist Believer, I'm like, okay, don't let this guy touch any more horror franchises.
Right.
What are your
And
thoughts?
um I was really disappointed with the last one. But I think that's gonna end. I To me that kind of almost feels like, you know, history kind of repeating itself where it doesn't really make sense, but ends up becoming like its own standalone down the line.
Hmm.
They can use that to come back and do something else with it, because this character is never going to die.
Yeah.
So, it just gives them another avenue to explore to bring that character back again. So I'm
Okay.
waiting even though they say he's dead, he's not. So I'm just waiting to see how they're going to bring him back next.
Okay. Another thing too, I would have made Halloween 2018, I would have had Halloween 2 be canon. Because when they're having all the hysteria and Halloween Kills in the hospital, I can't see the hysteria after the events of the original because you only had a handful of people be killed off. But where you had a hospital full of doctors and nurses killed off in the second one, I could see the hysteria, you know? I find if I watch the Halloween franchise, I watch the first two generally, and that's kind of it. I've got Halloween 4 on Blu-ray because I got Danielle Harris's autograph on it, but I don't
I
really,
bought I bought a box set, so
yeah.
I have every single one, including Rob Zombie's versions of them too.
Hmm.
So I'm like one of those people, I don't know, it might be my OCD, but once I have a certain amount of a film, I have to have the entire collection. So even if I don't like a particular film, I'll still buy it just because I need it to complete that set at that point.
I got the Friday the 13th box set. And I like that franchise, but I find if I'm watching one, my go-tos are usually the final chapter or Jason Lives.
I
They're
like
my
Jason
go.
Takes Manhattan too. Jason Takes Manhattan is like my go-to with those. And for some reason I like Jason X too.
Oh,
And Jason Goes to
jeez.
Hell.
Hated
Just because
Jason X.
it's just so out there.
But
But the kill scenes are amazing.
I'll tell you this about Jason Takes Manhattan. I was very, 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 very fortunate to have gotten Peter Mark Richmond on my podcast twice before he passed. He was the professor.
Yep.
Yeah, I was happy I got him on the show twice before he passed away. I've interviewed three people from that movie. I've interviewed one of the dopers, the one with the bandana, and I've interviewed the girl that dies at the beginning of it there, where she locks herself in that thing. And even she knows how stupid that is. And when she told me what the original plan was, it's like, why not go with that? Because originally she was supposed to run and dive off of the dock and try to swim away, and he was going to shoot a harpoon thing at her and get her in the back with it.
Yeah.
Problem was they wouldn't go let her go in the water, and they couldn't get a stunt double.
Oh no.
And she like even she was saying in the interview, she says, yeah, she knows just how stupid it is when she's basically painted herself into a corner, you know.
Right.
He said that what was supposed to happen would have been so much more iconic, you know. Yeah. But I was happy to get Peter Mark Richmond on here um, twice, so that's worked out. Do you have any? What are your favorite horror films?
House of a Thousand Corpses is an absolute favorite. That's like that's a go-to. If I'm having any kind of a bad day, like that's the first movie I'm gonna pull out is House of a Thousand Corpses. I've been hooked on Rob Jabbit's film The Sadness since that came out a couple years ago. That's another favorite of mine. I love introducing people to that film, especially if they're not used to foreign horror, because of how much more violent it is compared to our films. So watching people watch those movies, it's really, really violent. I actually ordered my copy from Canada so that I could order it because it's not available in this country. Um, I've been getting a lot more into the foreign films. Like I'm the Asian films for horror have been my new go-tos. So I've been exploring that more.
Some of my favorites. I love Alfred Hitchcock. You know, like Psycho was the first midnight film I ever seen, like a movie theater at midnight.
The
But
bird scared the living bejesus out of me.
my favorite Hitchcock is Rear Window, though. I love Rear Window. But I love Halloween, the original Halloween. Um, Dressed to Kill is a favorite of mine from Brian De Palma. Miss 45 by Abel Ferreira. I like a lot of Dario Argento films, like Suspiria and Deep Red and whatnot. Um, I love the 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, one of the few remakes that really holds up. Um, I like a lot of Cronenberg, you know. I, for more recency, I liked X, you know, and I brought up something that nobody else has brought up. Have you seen X?
Um, I have, but I fell asleep watching it, so it's one of those ones I need to go back and rewatch.
Well, let me tell you this. You know all the rules that Jamie Kennedy gives off in Scream?
Yep.
Mia Goth breaks every single one of them.
That doesn't surprise me.
She
You
gets
would think at this
naked, she does drugs, she has sex. Yeah. And she's Maxine this year. So you know she
she's
survived
running
it.
she's running up the stairs instead of out the door.
Yeah, she broke all the rules in Scream. And I'm like, yeah. Nobody has brought
The
that
newest
up.
the new Scream movies have been kind of fun. Um,
You
I
know
can't.
what? Not a fan of the Scream franchise. I like the first one, and I like the one that Jenna Ortega was in,
Yeah,
but I'm not a fan of that franchise because, especially this last one that came out, they had this guy, and they've done this with um, Dewey and Gale for many of the films, where they get stabbed multiple times, multiple times, multiple times,
and they never die.
and then they're being boarded up into an ambulance, you know? Like the guy, the colored fellow that gets stabbed in the sixth one, that should have done him in.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of stuff that happens in those movies where they clearly should have died and they somehow managed to bring them back as and they're alive and fine in the next one. They just might have like Dewey turned into like a complete gimp by the time they finally, killed him out of the franchise for good.
yeah, I just kind of lost faith in that franchise. Ready or not, I like that.
That was an interesting movie. I actually this what's her name? Samara Weaving.
Yeah.
I like her. She's spunky. There was another movie I watched with her, Mayhem, and it had the kid that played Glenn in The Walking Dead in it as well. And that movie was pretty good. It was like they work in an office and it was overtaken, like everybody turned into zombies. So that's how they all became a part of that.
Yeah. And I like a lot of Canadian horror too. Although this one's technically a thriller, but I love class of 1984, and that was where I met
Yeah,
Lisa. So
sorry if I'm messing up this right now. My earbuds just died on me.
there you go. Well, I can hear you fine. But
Okay.
anything else you got to promote? Who's going to be at the con that you're going to be going at next week?
Next week the guests, it's going, I think it's I'm trying not to like mess everything up.
You're
Bill
not going
Mosley
to
is
be
the
at
big
Chiller with me, are you?
No, I'm not. I wish. I haven't gone to really many other conventions that are on the East Coast. I kind of stick to the Northeast.
Hmm.
But I want to start traveling more and doing more other, checking out other shows. I want to go out to Texas Frightmare. That's
Hmm.
one of my goals.
Yeah. Well, I thought Lisa called me about Chiller, and I said yes. I'll do this one with her and assist her at her table. And but I might not be able to do any more until later on this year. I think I'll do Frightmare in the Falls again because I believe, knock on wood, that they're gonna have a guest I really want to meet who's been on the show here 5 times is gonna be at, and I'm like, I'll go see her, So, you know,
I I've heard a lot of good things about Scares That Care, so that's another one I want to check out. Maybe Days of the Dead at some point, one of the Days of the Dead shows. There's just so many out there that I never even realized how many there actually were until you get involved, and then it's like you need
you met,
another. At this point, we need another job just to be able to support our love of going to conventions and, you know, being able to meet everybody and the whole course of a weekend. Like it's just it's expensive. It gets expensive after a while. So I need another job just to support that habit. But it's so worthwhile. And, I'm not getting any younger. So it's like,
well, I'm gonna
what
be
better
50.
time than
I'm gonna be
now?
52 this year, so I never started doing them till 2017, 2 years after I started the podcast. So,
Yeah, I'm going to be 47. I did my first convention in 2014 and my first show started in 2017. So, yeah, but you know what? I wouldn't change it because it's been such a fun experience to be able to have met so many fantastic people, both the guests of the shows and everybody else that comes together to work together to make that a memorable weekend. There's so much involved to make sure everything runs smoothly. And, it's another opportunity that I'm glad I was blessed with, because I've been able to be on both sides of the table. I know what it's like to be a con goer and I know what it's like to be somebody that's actually helping put that show on. So it's definitely a different experience being part of the show as opposed to being a con goer because you get more opportunities, you get more time, because like, you're sitting with if like I sitting with David Sheridan for the weekend. Oh my God, the man is off the wall and he's absolutely hysterical. So, being able to sit there all weekend long with him and the
you got
stories.
to sit there with Officer
Somebody
Doofy
set
in
off
his
a
vacuum
fire
cleaner.
alarm and I'm gonna send you the video after. Somebody set off a fire alarm and he was already in the Deputy Doofy costume. So he's blowing his whistle and telling everybody to make sure they got out safely and did a whole video. It was a riot. I'll have to send that to you after so you can see it. But like just moments like that make a convention worthwhile for people that have never gone to one.
Did he say, slow down? Shaun.
Yeah, it's
He
funny.
walk out there with with his vacuum cleaner. I told you not to disturb me while I'm cleaning my room.
That's the picture that he autographed for me. So he's got on like the like the tighty whitey underwear and the white t-shirt. And he even like he even autographs it like with crazy writing to make it look like, you know, he's batshit crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like his energy, you know, him and Felissa, I cannot wait for the Christmas in July show to see those two with the energy they have in the same room.
I've seen them in the same room side by side twice. It's something to see.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Yep, yep, yep. Like I said, there's a picture I have of might even be up on my Facebook in my photo section of stick the vacuum cleaner in quarters. A Felissa Rose.
You really
But
got me. You really got me though thinking about making like a quick little video like he did with the fire alarm. Make him do some kind of crazy thing with Felissa with the vacuum and her, and because I think she's been I think I if I'm not mistaken, I heard she's starting to do like photo ops in a costume with the prosthetic penis too as the Angela character.
oh, you got to get Christy Swanson in that picture.
I would love to see her reaction to that because, you know, I think it's the first time she's doing it. So I can't imagine because just listening to her tell that story, I moderated a panel and it was a Scream Queen panel and it was her and Kate Hodge and Danielle Bassetti. She was in Curse of Chucky.
Okay.
And Felissa, what her energy and the that was the topic of conversation. Everything came back to the penis. And her that role in Sleepaway Camp. And it's just so funny to think that, you know, at the time she was 13 when she filmed that movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, she probably really wasn't well aware of what everything was that she was actually doing in that movie. But, you know, to see that's the pivotal moment in that movie that everybody remembers.
So, speaking of things to remember, when are you going to interview Shaun Doucette with his unicorn?
I'm gonna have to do that. I'm definitely gonna have to do that now, just because you just said that.
I should send you the link to the one I did with unicorn because I'm going to tell you, I got really crass.
And that's something because, you know, with being on the air when I do my show live, we have to be careful. I can't, you know, we can swear, but we can't drop any F-bombs because of the FCC regulations. So
Mine are all recorded, so
yeah. So I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna do that when I pick up and start when I re-release my other show. Because
I
then
have a little issue with YouTube. They pulled one of my interviews because of health misinformation. We had a casual conversation about the pandemic,
yeah,
very casual. I asked her what the pandemic was like where in her neck of the woods, so we could
yeah.
like, oh, okay, this is what's like here, blah, blah, blah. It got pulled for that reason. And I was like, this is such bullshit. And it put a strike against my channel. So now I get my stuff on Spotify and I'd like to do Rumble, but I'm wondering if Rumble will also support my audio interviews I did earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody
But
else told me to try Twitch.
what's Twitch?
Um, I've I've noticed it's to me, I've noticed it's a lot more geared to a lot. I've seen a lot more gamers use it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just another platform that people use for interviewing and, doing shows or being able to like play a video game and like run through the game and, still talk to people while you're running through the game. I don't know. I haven't gotten down with it yet. I'm at that point, I don't know about you, but a lot of the newer technology, I'm at the point where unless I have somebody that's younger and more in tune with certain things with social media, I don't get too involved. I try to keep it as basic and, easy as possible because I don't want to lose my love because I get frustrated over something stupid.
Yeah. No, I'm looking into other platforms as well because it's like yeah, I don't need to deal with that censorship bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen stuff worse than that on YouTube. And they come at me over a casual conversation.
Right.
We weren't recommending people get the jab or not get the jab. It was like, what was it like? We're in your neck of the woods, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So
See, I have to flip that just because of the fact, like, you're not, like you said, you're not telling people don't get the vaccine.
yeah,
You, well, I'm in Canada. This is what my experience has been like. I'm in the United States. This is what my experience has been like.
yeah,
So to be censored for that reason, that's complete BS.
yeah. So I tried to counter it, and they got back to me quick. It's like, yeah, you guys didn't listen to it, did you? It's like, screw it. So I got my stuff on another platform. Eventually, I'm probably gonna lose my channel. I don't care because I'll have my stuff on another. Fixes that.
I'm gonna keep an eye out now and figure out another way.
Well, Spotify, like Anchor podcast, Spotify.
have you used iTunes or whatever to upload to your show as well?
I have not.
That's another way you can get your show heard too. Anybody that streams uh podcasts, I would uh, go to and try and get your show onto it.
Okay. Okay.
Google Play, the Play Store, they have Google has their podcast thing. Apple has their podcast thing. So, there's others out there other than just Spotify because you can even get your show probably be able to be heard on like iHeart type,
Okay.
so there's get around YouTube and, being censored for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it's where we are. Anyway, do you got anything else you'd like to plug and promote on here?
Um, right now that my focus right now is Monster Expo. Between tenant union stuff, but my focus is Monster Expo right now and seeing how this is gonna play out the rest of the season because we have a lot of great guests lined up for the next 3 shows. So it's going to be good times. They've already announced the guests, obviously, for next weekend's show have all been are out there, and they're starting to announce the guests for the New Hampshire show. So it's going to be a good time, and maybe you can come down to my zip to come and hang out. We can do a show together and interview one of the guests.
Well, you never know. That may happen someday. I'm doing this one with Lisa next week, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm a little nervous about travel to the States, but then again, I remember the first time I traveled to Toronto, I was nervous. So yeah, I'm looking forward
I
to it
think
though.
I think you'll have a good time. I definitely hope you do like a live video blog or something of the course of the weekend. That's like my favorite thing
Oh,
to
I
do.
do stuff like on my YouTube channel too. I got some videos on some of my trips. So
Yeah, it's my turn
some
to fuck you now, but because you were a new name to me when Shaun mentioned you. So the turnaround time was so fast between him saying that he wanted me to go on to be on your show and you actually reaching out, that I didn't have my normal time to go and stalk you and see everything that you've been involved with and check out all your channels and links and whatnot for your shows and everything you've been doing.
Mm-hmm. What's your show called?
I have my new show is eScoop. It's on 990wbob.com.
Okay.
I air live twice a month. And then the shows are loaded up onto the website as a past cast. So you're able to go back and listen to all of my shows since I've started back in August of 2021.
Okay. Perfect. Well, it was wonderful having you come on here today and tell me your fascinating story and yeah, good luck to you. Um, I hope that you have fun at the con next week and uh, get to have a kick out of Dave and Felissa when that happens.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get it. I want to do it now. I want to do a show where it's you, me, Shaun, and Unicorn.
Okay. Sure.
But that no good will come of that.
I'll send you that interview with Unicorn. You're gonna crack up because I'm going at my most R-rated in that interview. It's like, yeah, yeah, Shaun, you asked for this, you got it.
Here, let me oblige you.
There you go. There you go. Well, anyway, you have yourself a wonderful night and best of luck to you and everything you do and with your tenant union as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it, and I'm gonna return that same love and have you on mine at one point soon.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that. Let's do that.
Yes, most definitely.
Absolutely. You take care. God bless.
You too, darling. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.